Welcome. You might have seen our shorter video on common issues for Spanish speakers learning English. Here are a few extra things that might be useful for you. One thing that I think Spanish speakers often have difficulty with in English is pronunciation. And one key difference between the two languages is that English is stress-timed and Spanish is syllable-timed. In English, we only stress the key syllables of the key words. Lots of the little words are very, very short, and we say them really quickly without much care. So that means that sometimes you don't hear the little words. You don't hear the little syllables. In Spanish, every syllable has a much more equal length. An example that I often give in English is if you have cats and if you have mice, I'm quite afraid of mice, the cats chase the mice, okay? Now you could say, cats chase mice, the cats chase the mice. If it's right now, you could say, the cats are chasing the mice, or if it's been happening recently, you could say, the cats have been chasing the mice. Cats chase mice, the cats chase the mice, the cats are chasing the mice, the cats have been chasing the mice. The fourth sentence has lots of words in it, but they each take the same amount of time to say. 1, 2, 3. If you're a Spanish speaker speaking English, you need to not pronounce every syllable equally, but only focus on the key words and the key syllables in those words, or focus mainly on those. Another pronunciation issue that Spanish speakers have is the range of vowel sounds that we have in English. Now in Spanish, you don't have too many different vowel sounds, a, e, o, u, something like that. Please forgive me, my Spanish pronunciation isn't that good. But in English, we have a much bigger range. In English, we have shorter vowel sounds, a, e, I, for example. But we also have longer vowel sounds, r, e, and we also sometimes have vowel sounds that are created when two shorter vowel sounds are put together. So for example, I, a, like in day, for example. A, oi. A classic example is the difference between ship and sheep. So a ship obviously is a big boat, and a sheep is an animal that goes bear. And those two words obviously sound quite different in English. Now, ship has that short I sound, sheep has the longer E sound. In Spanish it's difficult because you just have one sound which is actually somewhere in the middle. So you need to work hard to distinguish, to differentiate between those two sounds. Another thing that often causes problems for Spanish speakers is that the relationship between spelling and pronunciation is different in English to Spanish. In Spanish, if you see a word written down, you can work out how to pronounce it. But in English, you can't a lot of the time, or it's a lot less intuitive. So, in English, sometimes you need to learn the spelling of the word, how it's spelt, and how it's pronounced separately. So some examples of words that maybe words that are quite similar in Spanish and English but are pronounced maybe in a slightly unexpected way are estación. You can see how it's spelt in Spanish and you know that it's estación. But the word in English looks like station or something like that, but it's pronounced station. Now you only know that T-I-O-N is pronounced shun if you know. It's difficult to tell from just looking at the word. One final issue that Spanish speakers sometimes have is with the consonant sound d. So I think in Spanish this sound is actually more beautiful. It's kind of softer. For example, the capital of Spain is Madrid. In English, we pronounce it Madrid. D, d, d. That d is quite a difficult sound for Spanish speakers to pronounce. Today we've been talking about Spanish, but next time we're going to talk about another language and how speakers of that language might have particular issues when learning English. If there's a language you'd like us to focus on, please leave a comment. At Speak Up London, we have lots of students from Spanish-speaking countries, lots of people whose first language is Spanish, and we help them to improve their English. So we have a lot of experience of dealing with some of these issues and trying to help people to become more accurate, more fluent, more easier to understand in English. So if you're from one of these countries and would like to study here, please get in touch.